If you're enjoying that water, I hope you can continue to just appreciate the flow of my voice interwoven with this lovely river that I'm looking at right now. Yeah. Good afternoon. Actually getting closer to evening. To all my friends listening in, tuning in today. You're tuned here to the Feather of Light podcast. This is a podcast where I like to just riff about mental health and sometimes introduce my lens as a counselor, other times more of a coaching hat comes on. But I also really want to just appreciate the role of spirituality that comes into play so much in life, in my personal world, but also in the realm of healing, right? We're healing. Spirituality is such a life force. It's such a beacon. And I'd say it's such a necessary component of healing. So I feel like that'll be the topic today, is as I tiptoe along this beautiful river, and maybe I'll just find a spot to sit down and just drink it all in, so to speak. I'd like to bring you into an exploration around how spirituality plays a role in, I suppose, how we heal, but it also, I would say, is such an instrumental component to doing deeper, lasting healing. From my perspective, from my lens, right? I would say I'm quite a spiritual man, and maybe there are some who don't identify with spirituality in the same way, and I would say all forms of healing are valid, right? Whether you include, prayer, or even the idea of spirituality being so important to healing. I think there's a lot of people that would agree, but I think there's probably some people that would disagree, and I just want to say all those perspectives are valid. So here I am, crunch, 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 walking along this really beautiful tree. Wow, coming into contact with this rooted one, this gorgeous rooted one, right along the edge of the water. It's doing well. It's quite alive and well. It's a big one. Quite a beautiful grandmother energy from that tree. And yeah, what is spirituality, right? I think I've tried to define it in a few different ways, in different podcast episodes, in different shapes and form. I feel it's whatever you want it to be. But for me, it's something about just connecting to that source energy, connecting to what some might call God, right? Having this ability to channel something outside of us and feel it within us and have it motivate us and have it revitalize us. And I think oftentimes this takes place in more private, intimate spaces, such as, let's say, for me, that's nature, or a meditation room with a shrine and, mantra, and, you can just be in the quietness of your own space and praying. Or I would say there's many cases where it becomes a community adventure and a community journey of understanding other forms of faith and prayer and how those kind of intersect. And then, of course, just connecting with people and allowing their passion for spirit to in a way motivate you to learn more about how you can pray and how you can feel connected to spirit. And yeah, So I've introduced a lot of the buzzwords like prayer and faith and spirit. But I mean, on a practical level, I feel like there is something about just having a deeper sense of trust. And this is where maybe it starts to become more into the realm of counseling or therapy. It's like, I feel like your mindset has to, in a way, reflect a willingness to trust and surrender to the unknown in many cases, right? Not being so heavily reliant upon everything being controllable, or even maybe having an openness to understand life without knowing things with certainty, or having that kind of rigidness where things might be right or wrong, where I would say the more spiritual man, depending on their take and their particular beliefs, they're just more open, or sorry, spiritual man, spiritual woman, spiritual person, yeah, they can embrace life, and they can embrace the struggles, they can embrace the healing path, whatever that may look like for them. You know, there's ultimately more of an acceptance of past pain, or the nature of suffering as it exists within our world, or, you know, maybe not relying on something as an escape as much, being more accepting and open to the fact that our world will require us to be with something more presently and sit with it. And I don't want to say that like every form of escape is anti-spiritual, because I think there's actually a lot of escapes that are, in fact, spiritual escapes, spiritual bypass, right? That's what it's known as. And I think it's interesting where there can be all these different practices that are inherently spiritual practices and actually do help us connect more to this energy that we call source or God or anything, whatever we want to call it, right? But there might be a component of avoiding something else when we enter into contact with that thing. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it makes any sense to tell someone that what they're doing is wrong, right? I think there's an element of my own sort of trust in the divine plan that, you know, if someone's going through something, it's likely for a very good reason, or there's some kind of intention or lesson that they're trying to learn. Even in the deeper suffering, I suppose the spiritual idea, there's an ideal around that, where it's ideally people are suffering for a reason, right? And it's a cruel, harsh way of putting it, because there's so much horrible, tremendous suffering. So I feel like when you bring in the topic of suffering, it just kind of further complexifies what spirituality is and maybe isn't. Because is the avoidance of suffering spiritual, or more or less spiritual? You know, I don't feel like it's possible to truly avoid suffering. I feel like in our minds we can do a pretty good job escaping it. And I would say, this is my personal opinion, my personal take, that the more you lean into that suffering, the more you're open to the spiritual lessons, and the more you're going to find, I would say, a deeper, more intimate expression of God. You know, I'm using that word, but it could be grandmother, it could be creator. You're finding a more deeper, intimate expression of this thing that we all have within us, that we're connected through. And some of us are just more ready for that. Some of us feel more open to that. Some of us maybe, you know, depending on what you believe, it's our time in our reincarnation process to go into that and feel into that. And it's part of our service. It's part of our dharma, if you know what that means. So it's like, yeah, if it's your mission to go into that darkness, maybe it's time, right? Maybe you're ready. I feel with healing, This is where that intersection comes in. Oh, I'm looking at this beautiful chickadee. I think it's a chickadee. Just this big circle. It's this bird that's literally just like a circle. It's so beautiful. It's like brownish, maybe some hints of orange. He's just on the side of this tree I was looking at, and he's just so... Oh. Oh. I love you, bird. I love you. It's staying, I would say, unusually close to me. It seems kind of comfortable, or just doesn't seem to care, and I love it. It's practicing. It's embodying something there. It's so safe within its own, I don't know, within this tree, within its environment. Maybe it just likes listening to me talk. It's kind of jolting its head back and forth. Maybe it's a baby bird, and it's kind of like naive in a way to its hunting instinct. Or, maybe when birds get older, they know not to just sit in one place and listen to humans. But this bird's watching me and listening to me, and this is a spiritual experience. Wow. Oh, he's so tiny. Oh my God. And he's just, he's clearly doing something. Goodbye. Okay. Woo. Oh yeah. I love birds. Shit, the more I understand, the more I think I understand spirituality, I feel like the less I truly understand about what it actually is, in maybe the grander universal sense. It's like the more you study something, the more you understand that there's just like this almost infinite wealth, or, there's a galaxy of expressions or tangents or levels of that thing. And yeah, spirituality and healing, for that matter, they're both things that I feel I'm just like so new to these things. Even though I've studied them, it feels like all I've done is really, in many ways, taken off a piece and allowed myself to digest that. But then when it comes to the concept as a whole, I still feel so, I'll say lost, but I feel humbled. Humbled to just embrace the unknown and the uncertainty. Something about the Gran Misterio, it's called, the Great Mystery, feels like it kind of fits into this topic. So I'd like you just sort of sit with this idea. Join me for this exploration of the Great Mystery, right? Whatever that means to you. Gran Misterio. And how healing feels like it certainly opens you up to the Great Mystery. Or you're beginning to walk more clearly and more confidently through life and embracing the Great Mystery of all that is. Maybe there's less of a, fixation on where you ought to be or where you ought not to be. There's less anxiety or less, I don't know. You're feeling less weighed down by things that have happened to you in the past. And you're just starting to get excited again, like when you were a kid. Like when you were that child that just, you're like, oh my God, what's outside? What's out the front door? What's going to happen today? Oh my God, what's that? Is that a forest? Holy shit, let's go. What do we do in the forest? Where is that going to take me? What am I going to see? As I'm saying this, I'm literally feeling my inner child like wake up. Like I'm like shaking, like in an excited, let's go away. My knees are just kind of bobbing. And I'm like, yeah. The Great Mystery. It's that energy. It's that, woo, let's go live. Let's go embrace. And I don't want to say it's like a fuck it. I feel like if you're at the point of where your perspective of life is fuck it, you're probably embracing some sort of spirituality. But I'd say being more anchored in an awareness and a knowing, and not just being, in a sense, reckless, I suppose, not being like reckless with your joy seeking or you're life experimenting, I would say there's a level of conscientiousness and intentionality that come into recognizing that we're all here on a collective journey, right? Ram Dass says we're all walking each other home. And I would say there has to be a certain level of extending compassion and having just some kind of collective awareness that we are walking each other home. And we can't just say everything to the wind, because what if another person says everything to the wind? This is a bit of moral imperative, but like, if everyone said, fuck it, I don't think we'd be living in a very safe place or a very happy place. It's interesting how I connect those two things. Maybe they're not always connected, but like, I think it'd be a pretty challenging world to live in if we all embraced such a disembodied, airy level of fuck itness, that maybe we would be feeling happy in a playful, joyous, childlike way, but at the same time, what would we be, right? How would we be in relation to other? Or how would we be in relation to this thing we call God or consciousness or grandmother or creator or great spirit? I almost feel, this is my take, for sure, I almost feel like we have to be able to return to this energy and be able to acknowledge its presence some way, in some shape or form, right? Whatever that looks like for you. This is kind of where prayer comes in, for sure. I think a lot of prayer is just speaking God's name. If it, you're looking to the Hindu or the Vedic prayer, you're speaking Ram, you're saying Shiva, which is a different than just Ram, but of course there's all these different expressions, all these different deities, there's all these different ways we speak God's name. And I feel like there's this awareness that we are in relationship with God as we live, as we walk, as we connect with nature, as we speak to others right now, right here and now. How cool is that? We're in contact in a way that I would say each of us has our relationship to this energy. Each of us is feeling pulled in and connected to, and maybe even receiving from in this moment a little bit of that God consciousness, a little bit of that collective love. Ooh, took me a while to say the word, but love. It's like accessing love, expressing and embodying and freely giving away, in some cases, love. Not abandoning ourselves for sake of love for another, but, knowing where that connection is reciprocal and where we can love another and ourselves at the same time. That feels like a very precious component of prayer. And it feels kind of simple in a way, right? It's not going through all the complexities of shadow work. It's not considering hows or whys or whether you should or shouldn't. It's just like a simple recognition of we are love. And as I say that even sounds so cliche, right? It's like, we are love. Do you know what that means? Do I know what that means? Does that make any sense? But of course it does. On a deeper level, your spirit recognizes it, and it doesn't have to be filtered through the lens of the mind. It doesn't have to be interpreted through the mind or the words I say. The words I say are meaningless. It's the energy. It's the energy of love. And it's crazy. I wanted to, in a way, maybe connect this to counseling, I guess. But here's the thing. I don't know if it needs to be directly connected, as much as I just want to offer my words and my lens and this energy, and seeing how you mirror that energy, how you pick that up, how you receive that, or how you don't receive that. It's I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that we all have this ability to connect to love. And there's also the recognition that we're disconnected a lot of the time. And I feel like so much of what we're doing is clearing away all the the samskaras, the wounds of the heart. We're clearing away all the burdens of what our child self or past self has been holding on to and continues to layer and accumulate on. And, you know, maybe even just this dense fog of fear and anger and division that just gets exuded through media and through all these crazy, I would say, unnatural channels. Yeah. I'm just taking a moment to listen to the water. I feel like you get a chance to sit with some water today or tomorrow or this week. I seriously encourage that. I seriously feel like we all seriously encourage I deeply believe we are lacking just this simple connection to the elements. You know, like feeling the earth on our feet, in our toes, soil on our toes, feeling the river flowing through us, really appreciating and sitting with the messages and the nuances of the wind, of the air, of the breath. And of course the fire, the beautiful and powerful elegance of the sacred flame, whether it's a fire we sit around as we all just kind of gather in connection, the fire of connection, or the fire of love, or the fire of passion and spiritual energy being embodied, the sacred flame, the fire of keeping the flame and being of service for others, right? Fire keepers. In the indigenous traditions, that's a sacred role. And I think it's in the ceremony for a reason. But we're all keeping our fires. We're all keeping and helping tend the flames of others. We're all required to wash ourselves off with the sacred waters and allow the mother water, the water of the river, to wash through us and purify us. And not to get too down on what is very clean water, because in Canada we have very clean water, but noticing how natural, free, attuned through the frequency of Mother Earth's water feels versus water that's been chemically altered and sits stagnant and combines with all these metal pipes and stuff. You know, there's a huge difference. So yes, our water is drinkable. Bless Canada for that, I suppose. More so, I appreciate the stewards of the kʷikʷəḷł Nation. I appreciate the watershed and those who are indigenous, and even those who are non-indigenous, who are stewards and land protectors, and those who support this sacred land that we live on, and the water and the lakes, all this sacred land, and all the indigenous stewards. So yeah, I mean, we have water, but in all honesty, when I mean connect to the elements, I'm not just talking about drinking water from the tap or turning on a gas fireplace or stove. You know, I'm talking about the primal elements. I'm talking about the water that's within our blood, and the sacred flame that is beating within our hearts, the electricity that jolts through our bodies, the mass of beating flesh that is our heart and our organs, and the earth that is within each cell, and the wind that our breath is consuming and allowing in our bodies, and then nourishes our cells, and yeah, it's just profound how much beautiful intentional design comes into play when we consider the nature of the human body and how it functions. And yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Healing from within and from our relationship to this divine energy that is debatably outside of us, but also within us. So I don't know how much further I can go into this topic without just rambling. It's been a rambly one. I really do implore you to listen to the water more. Maybe you can pick up these frequencies. Maybe they help you nurture whatever it is you need to nurture right now. Inviting in more energy of curiosity about what this life is, what this nature of this existence truly is outside of, well, you go and do your thing day by day. You live in the realm of the mind, or you temporarily get outside of it and you go and have some fun, and then when that goes away, life's not so great. No, these are such small little nodes of this experience when you start to attune to something so much greater. However you attune to it, whatever that looks like, singing and using the voice is one of the most beautiful and I would say powerful ways that you can just simply express love, express joy, and feel connected to the divine. I hope you can take that away from this, if anything. Maybe just take that moment to tone, maybe take that moment to sing a song, maybe find a space where you feel safe, where you can just express your voice, whether it's with another person that you trust, whether it's just on your own little, in your own little kind of echo chamber, right? Like just recording yourself in a voice recorder. Yeah, life is magic. Life is beautiful. And the medicine is everywhere. So thanks for joining me today. I feel called to say aho metaphysical yasin. We are all one. So the Lakota language says and speaks to us, and privileged to know these words from the sharing of the Lakota Nation. And if you feel called, leave me some reviews or comments or anything. I would love to hear from you. Always do. Always brings warmth to my heart when folks are engaging and reach out and say, hey, your podcast is cool. And any way I can support you, I'll do the same. So, yeah, take care for now. Have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Talk to you another time.